Have you ever wondered why fairy tales always portray women as princesses, witches, or wise old guides? What if these stories are more than just fantasy or simple entertainment, and instead, they reveal the deepest truths about the feminine psyche, hidden within layers of symbolism and timeless narratives? From the youngest princess locked away in a tower to the wise crone who offers guidance, these characters are more than storybook figures. They are representations of archetypes that Carl Jung, the Swiss psychologist, identified as fundamental patterns within the collective unconscious. Jung believed that fairy tales, myths, and legends are universal expressions of human psychology, and they reflect the struggles, hopes, and transformations of the human spirit. They are mirrors through which we can explore not only the external world of stories, but also the internal world of our minds. And when it comes to women in these tales, the reflections are often profound, complex, and deeply symbolic. Carl Jung's work on archetypes provides a framework to understand the roles of women in stories and in our own lives. According to Jung, archetypes are universal, recurring symbols or themes that appear in myths, dreams, and folklore across cultures. They are part of what he called the collective unconscious, a shared layer of the human psyche that transcends individual experience. Women in fairy tales often embody these archetypal roles, not merely as characters in a narrative, but as representations of fundamental psychic energies. These archetypes carry both light and shadow elements, revealing qualities of nurturing, wisdom, temptation, danger, and transformation. By exploring these archetypes, we can gain insight into the psychological experiences of both men and women, and even uncover hidden aspects of ourselves. In this way, fairy tales are not simply for children, they are symbolic maps of the human psyche, offering lessons in growth, self-discovery, and the integration of complex inner energies. One of the primary archetypes of women in fairy tales is the maiden or virgin. This archetype represents innocence, potential, and the threshold of personal development. The maiden is often portrayed as young, beautiful, and pure, such as in the figures of Snow White or Sleeping Beauty. She embodies a certain vulnerability, a sense of openness to the world, and a potential for transformation that is yet unrealized. In Jungian terms, the maiden archetype reflects the initial stages of feminine development, where curiosity, creativity, and receptivity are prominent qualities. This archetype can also symbolize the anima, the inner feminine side of men, which appears as youthful, innocent, and sometimes idealized. Through encounters with the maiden figure, characters in stories, as well as the audience, are invited to recognize qualities of potential, curiosity, and openness within themselves. The maiden is not merely passive, her presence in tales often sparks change, sets events into motion, and challenges others to act, revealing the subtle power inherent in innocence and the untested aspects of the psyche. Closely related is the mother or great mother archetype, which is perhaps one of the most complex and multi-dimensional representations of femininity in literature. The great mother embodies nurturing, protection, fertility, and care, but she can also manifest darker aspects such as devouring, controlling, or destructive tendencies, often appearing as the evil stepmother, witch, or antagonist in tales. This dual nature reflects the psychological reality that the feminine can provide both life-giving support and imposing challenge. In stories such as Cinderella, the stepmother embodies the devouring aspect of the great mother, restricting growth and fostering suffering, while in tales with benevolent maternal figures, women provide guidance, shelter, and opportunities for transformation. The Jung emphasized that this archetype is deeply connected to the experiences of children and to the emotional bonds that shape early development, but it also resonates with adult encounters with authority, care, and the power of the feminine in broader society. The recognizing both the nurturing and shadow aspects of the mother archetype allows us to understand the full spectrum of feminine influence and its impact on the human psyche. Another vital archetype present in fairy tales is the crone or wise woman. Unlike the maiden, who represents potential, or the mother, who embodies nurturance, the crone symbolizes wisdom, knowledge, and transformation. She often appears in stories as an older woman who guides heroes, offers riddles or advice, or serves as a mentor during critical turning points. Examples of the crone include figures like Baba Yaga in Slavic folklore, Morgan Le Fay in Arthurian legends, or the mystical witches who provide counsel in various European fairy tales. The crone's role is essential in psychological development because she represents the integration of experience, the acceptance of aging and change, and the transformative power of wisdom. In Jungian terms, the crone is closely linked to the archetype of individuation, the process through which individuals confront their unconscious and integrate disparate aspects of their psyche into a coherent whole. The crone challenges both the characters in tales and the audience to confront truth, endure trials, and embrace transformation as a necessary path toward psychological maturity. While archetypes like the Maiden, Mother, and crone represent the light, guiding aspects of the feminine psyche, many fairy tales also explore the shadow of femininity. The shadow consists of the repressed, feared, or socially unacceptable qualities of the psyche, and in stories it often emerges as dangerous or destructive female figures. Witches, evil stepmothers, and temptresses are common embodiments of this shadow, representing both external threats to protagonists and internal struggles with repressed desires, aggression, or power. For example, the witch in Hansel and Gretel is not merely an evil character. She represents the danger in an untamed, unconscious aspects of the psyche, both for the children in the story and for the audience who engages with it. The shadow aspects of femininity remind us that the feminine is not solely nurturing or gentle, but encompasses a full spectrum of power, intensity, and potential for disruption. By recognizing these shadow figures in tales, we are invited to confront and integrate our own inner fears, projections, and denied qualities, fostering a deeper understanding of the human psyche as a whole. Beyond their symbolic roles, the women in fairy tales often act as guides for heroes on journeys of personal transformation. Fairy godmothers, wise queens, and mystical female figures provide assistance, knowledge, and support during crucial moments, shaping the paths of those they encounter. These guiding figures are not simply helpers, they serve as symbolic representations of the anima or the inner feminine, facilitating the hero's encounter with the unconscious and promoting psychological growth. Through these interactions, tales convey the importance of feminine influence in spiritual and personal development. Jung emphasized that the integration of the anima is a vital part of individuation, encouraging men and women alike to embrace the guidance, creativity, and wisdom that the feminine offers. In this way, women in tales are both mirrors and catalysts, reflecting inner realities while prompting transformation and insight. Fairy tales also teach profound psychological lessons about love, transformation, and the balance between light and shadow within the feminine psyche. Romantic entanglements, quests, and challenges often reveal deeper truths about desire, projection, and integration. Jung observed that individuals frequently project their unconscious qualities onto others, and fairy tales provide a symbolic framework for exploring these projections. When we encounter a princess, a witch, or a wise woman in a story, we are simultaneously engaging with parts of ourselves, our ideals, fears, and potential. The interplay between the light and shadow elements of feminine archetypes teaches us that psychological growth requires acknowledgement of the full spectrum of qualities within ourselves, from nurturing compassion to assertive power, from innocence to wisdom, and from vulnerability to resilience. The cultural and mythological context of these tales further enriches their meaning. Across Europe, Asia, Africa, and the Americas, women in legends embody archetypal roles that resonate universally, reflecting the collective unconscious. From the Greek goddesses who personify power, love, and wisdom, to the fairy godmothers of Western European folklore, to the mystical oracles of Eastern traditions, female figures serve as conduits for cultural values and psychological truths. Each story encodes lessons about morality, social roles, and inner life, offering timeless insights into human experience. By studying these narratives through a Jungian lens, we uncover patterns that transcend geography and history, revealing that the archetypal feminine is a constant presence in human consciousness, guiding, challenging, and inspiring us across generations. Engaging with these tales encourages reflection on personal projections and inner dynamics. How do we see women, both in stories and in our lives? What qualities do we admire, fear, or resist? How might we integrate neglected aspects of the feminine within ourselves, regardless of gender? Fairy tales invite us to recognize that every encounter with a female figure, be it nurturing, challenging, or mysterious, is an opportunity to confront parts of our own psyche, to understand our desires, fears, and potential, and to embark on a journey toward wholeness. This reflective process not only deepens self-awareness, but also fosters empathy, emotional intelligence, and a greater appreciation for the complexity of human relationships. Ultimately, fairy tales are far more than simple entertainment. They are symbolic maps of the human psyche, offering guidance and insight into our inner lives. Women, in these stories, embody archetypes that are essential to understanding the full spectrum of human experience. That from the maiden's innocence and the mother's nurturance to the crone's wisdom and the shadowy power of witches and stepmothers, each figure represents aspects of femininity that resonate within our unconscious. By observing, reflecting, and engaging with these characters, we gain access to profound psychological truths and timeless lessons about growth, transformation, and integration. These narratives remind us that the feminine is a powerful force, one that nurtures, challenges, transforms, and ultimately helps us discover who we truly are. Next time you read a fairy tale, look closely. Observe the women in the story, not just as characters, but as mirrors reflecting your own psyche. Consider how their qualities, both light and dark, may exist within you. Reflect on the guidance, challenges, and transformations they offer. Fairy tales, through their timeless symbols, invite us to explore our unconscious, integrate our inner feminine, and embrace the journey toward wholeness. The princess who waits, the mother who protects, the witch who tests, and the crone who advises, they are all parts of a greater psychological landscape, illuminating the mysteries of human nature. By engaging with these stories consciously, we honor not only the power of myth, but also the depth of our own minds. In the end, the women of fairy tales are not just figures in distant lands, they are reflections of the enduring, transformative, and multifaceted presence of the feminine within every human soul.